Hello and welcome to another episode of Raw Chatter. I am your host, Vicky Midwood speaking. I've got a guest with me today, and this time it is a fellow coach. I met Nicky through a networking group only, which I think I've mentioned before, and we got on like a house on fire. Nicky started to tell me some of her story. And to cut a long story very short, we could have been on that call for probably 3 or 4 hours, couldn't we, Nicky?
Yes.
She has an amazing story to tell. It really is a story of resilience, determination, and reinvention. And Nicky's going to share kind of where it all started, which really same for all of us with most of our stories. It begins in childhood, but you've got some real clarity on what you picked up, haven't you, Nicky?
Yes.
And what that kind of then led on to as your life unfolded. So number one, thank you for joining me. And number two, crack on. Let's hear your story.
Oh, well, it's quite a long story, so I'll try and make it really precise and to the point. So I think my childhood started a long time ago, 57 years ago, and I was brought up an only child, and I had a lovely mum and dad, and it was a really lovely upbringing, but later on in life, I think some of the hidden messages in my mum's talk to me, things like be happy with what you've got, can't you just be quiet and accept things, and lots of other chats have really set me up for a few falls, especially, I must say, Vicky, on choosing life partners. And that's where the story goes from there, really. So I've been married twice, and the first husband was a car crash waiting to happen, and that ended. My second husband, we parted ways, and we remain really good friends. So we're obviously better as friends than partners. So that's a really good little story.
Right. Let's just.
I want to tell you about.
We cannot skip over, because this is what kind of got us chatting. Because I've been married twice as well, and then had two relationships which were longer term, and neither of them worked out either. So tell us about your first relationship and how you managed to, how long you stayed in that, and then how you got out of that, and then how you got into the second one.
Okay, then. So I married very early at 18 years old. I would not be happy if my daughters did the same. Thankfully, they're a bit older, so they survived that bit. And it was mainly, it was a very, I want to say whirlwind, but it wasn't really. But because it was all done in the old-fashioned way, asking my dad, it seemed so right. But what does an 18-year-old know about being married to somebody else? And I moved away, got married, moved away to Germany, and didn't know anybody, had a child in Germany, and didn't have any help. My mum didn't come out to help me. I just kind of survived. And I think that only child growing up really suited that training, really, to be an only person in Germany.
So this is where what you were saying earlier is like, get on with it, shut up, just put up with it and kind of figure it out, which is what you did.
Unbeknown to me, my first husband was not, I don't want to badmouth him, but he wasn't a great person. So that marriage ended after 7 years. So I got back to UK, and I just decided that, asking myself really big questions like, is this how I want my life to go for the rest of my life? Now, I've either got to accept it and shut up and stop whinging about it, or I've actually got to leave and get on with my life, and make it something that I wanted, because I'd always had a strong belief in, why would I be wanting to stay? So I did leave, and I had a glorious time. I was a single mum to a 3-year-old, and life was good. I moved into a housing association house. I had great neighbours, and it was fun. And that's where I met my second husband on a night out.
Okay, as you do.
So he was a really lovely man. But I think we got married. Everything was going tickety boo. And then I think I hit 40, and I was just, I don't know, is there something every 10 years that you just like resonate with what's going on? And is there more to have, or are you happy with what you have? And you just, I don't know, I seem to change every 10 years.
I think it makes sense that we kind of go through seasons, don't we? And
Yes.
think about how our schooling system kind of works. You go to secondary school between the ages of sort of 10 and 11. And then when you get into your 20s, that's when you kind of change again. It's uni or the end of uni, depending on what age you were when you started. And that begins another season.
Yeah.
So it does make sense that we kind of can look at things almost in 10-year cycles. And of course, we learn a lot about ourselves, but about the world and other people and how everything works, don't we, over that period of time. So yeah, it does make sense. But for you, there was definitely this 10-year thing going on.
Definitely a 10-year thing going on. And when you just said about the uni thing, I wasn't allowed to go to uni when I was younger because my mum wouldn't let me go. And that all became a little bit clearer as I was growing up. So at 18, I did find out I was adopted. And I don't know if I told you this bit. I did find out I was adopted, and nobody knew who my biological father was. But it turned out my birth mother was indeed my auntie. So,
oh, goodness. Wow.
yeah, so I was given to the older sister, which was really good because I had a great time. When I look back, it was really nice. You know, it was really rosy. It was just these hidden messages, which would be what my mum learned from her growing up. You know, it's this historical learnings, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so then I got to 40 and started to think, is this what I want? You know, I had another daughter by then, and it turned out that we were just going our separate ways. So we decided to call it a day and remain friends. And we have remained friends, and he's my best friend, I would say.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, so from there, so we were living in the south of England then, and this is where the story gets really interesting. So from there, I met a few guys because I wasn't heavily into dating, because I just wanted to bring my daughters up. Wow, I did go out maybe a bit too much, but you know. So I met somebody, and that was really good. That ran its course. But the next chap that I did meet was where life really changed dramatically. And we moved in together. We bought 2 properties together. At this time, my mum had just passed away, and I became a full-time carer for my dad as well. So I moved him down south.
Gosh. So I'm just going to interject before you go on to tell us about this, where it does get really quite interesting. What were you doing the whole time work-wise? Because obviously you came back to the UK, you were a single mom.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you did have some kind of work or job, or were you a full-time single mom? And then when you met your second husband, what were you doing in terms of kind of work and stuff? Because you are somebody who also is able to do a number of things when it comes to different works, skill sets that you have.
Yes. So when I first met my second husband, I worked in Argos, and I had lost an extreme amount of weight from leaving my first husband because I'd have a back problem and I was on steroids. I was really unhappy. And so when I worked at Argos, I decided to take up fitness like you do. And I loved it. And I lost loads of weight and life was really rosy. And then I met this guy, and then I decided that I would go into personal training and fitness, and started to go on YMCA courses to learn all my stuff that I needed to learn. And then I moved to Bangor University and worked on the sports team there. And it was really intriguing. Then I got married, and then I moved down south. And then I decided to continue with my fitness. And I worked for many clubs teaching aerobics. I was specialised in cardiac rehabilitation and older adults. And it was a very interesting life that I was leading. I got away on loads of holidays to meet my husband because he was in the Navy, and everything was just great. And then we split up, and then I met somebody else and moved to Weymouth, where I live now. And this is where life changed dramatically. So instead of staying with the fitness because I'd had an injury, I decided to work within my favorite hobby ever, and that's making bespoke curtains and dressmaking and all the stuff going with sewing. So I started a bespoke service for making interiors, and that's where I stayed for a while. Yeah. Yeah. And it was really interesting. Yeah.
And then you decided you were going to buy these 2 properties, because obviously interior design and all of that, it kind of makes sense that you were into all of that good stuff. So tell us then the tale.
Okay, so I had a bit of savings, and I met this guy. He was really quite amazing, a very charming man. And we moved in together, and it was all progressing nice. It was nice, it was really going well. And as soon as I moved in, we bought 2 properties together, which became rentals, and things were going okay. And then suddenly, I think once the money was put into the properties, life became very different, and it just changed dramatically. Behaviours, I wasn't being treated very well, and I hadn't even heard of the word narcissistic behavior at that time, so I didn't know what it was, but I just was being treated badly, spoken to badly, shouted at, belittled. And I felt at the time he felt that the money that was in the properties was his, so I was getting edged out.
Okay. And it wasn't, I'm assuming. You put in some and he put in some. Did he kind of put in more than you?
No, he never put in any.
Oh, he didn't put in any at all. Right. Okay. No, so he's already deluding himself that the money is his. Right.
So things became that bad that a year later, I decided to move out, and thought it would be an easy thing to get a solicitor to sort it all out. And boy, was I really wrong. Right. So no response, lots of nasty texts and things like that. It was just really awful time. And at the time, I was caring for my dad as well. Right. So it was just really hard to manage that. I decided to open up a shop with a workroom because my business was growing, and it was going all really nice, and we were doing really well, On the sideline, there was this fear, a really bad fear that he was going to do this, because that's how I don't know, I want to call it grooming. I don't know what the right word is, but my self-belief on this myself was really low. Even though I was achieving great things, I couldn't see it.
But this is where, when you're in a relationship like that, and as you said, you kind of notice the behavior, and it's almost subtle. It's the language, the behavior change, just the kind of the comments that are left kind of dripping. And when you start to recognize that he becomes unpredictable, that's when the fear kicks in, because is that treading on eggshells?
Very much so. Yeah. It was really scary as well. And it was really interesting, this bit, because it's just come to my memory. One of my best friends, she was always there for me, and she said something which changed the whole trajectory of where I was at, what I was doing, and trying to just fix things, because he was once this charming man, and he was a dream boyfriend. Do you know what I mean? And then he turned into this other thing. And she says, Nicky, do you realize what a role model you're being for your daughter?
Right.
And I was like, whoa, this is really heavy. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I thought, my daughters are the real most important thing. If I'm acting in the way I am, just to keep things calm, what does that look like to my daughters? And it was just
just to help people listening who don't necessarily know or don't understand what it's like to be in a relationship like that. What sort of things did you find yourself doing and sort of agreeing to that in hindsight you're kind of going, yeah, this is not what a role model does? Just to give us an idea.
Well, it would be simple things like at the dinner table, he would just kick off with one of my daughters, and I would just I was put in the position of, I'm on the side of my daughters 100%, and he is being totally out of order and is making all this up. I knew that, but I had to kind of remain calm to keep this grizzly bear calm so he wouldn't kick off with everybody. It was really a bad situation. Yeah, it was really bad. And my friends could see that I was really down. I was really low on my self-esteem.
Yeah.
And I was trying to keep things together. I was trying to hide things from my dad. It was just really hard and really upsetting. And then my daughters would kick off, "You're always on his side." And I was like, I'm not on his side. I'm pacifying him so that it get out of hand, because it really will. But it did do in the end. You can't control a grizzly bear, you know.
No,
So,
and this is where no matter what kind of tactics that you try, eventually the true colors will shine through, and obviously, and they did.
They certainly did. So after that comment off my friend, I looked for somewhere to live and I moved out straight away. And that was really hard, because you know, when you've been groomed for so long, or gaslit for so long, you don't know what's real and you don't know what's not.
Yeah. And you doubt every decision that you make, and that in and of itself then erodes your self-confidence and your self-worth even more. And you kind of ask yourself, you know, do I even know what I'm doing about anything? Thank goodness for having an amazing friend who gave you the opportunity to see things from a different perspective, that made you actually take that really positive action step and get out. And well done for doing that, because, you know, even that decision is a scary one, isn't it? To just decide to up sticks and go.
Well, it was really scary, because I'd also been disabled from earning money because I became this housewife, you know. So I was moving out, had this rental to pay for, had my dad to look after. He never left the house. And I also had a teenage daughter. My other daughter had moved out and was getting on with her life. It was just really weird, because I then had to pacify this grizzly bear, so that it was like I had to almost be his friend, so that he would make my life smooth while I was going through this transition out of trying to get back into work, to pay the bills, and also to save money up to sort this solicitor's bills up, you know, that I knew were going to come because of the joint mortgage that we had, which after spending about £5,000, he never responded to any letter.
You're joking. Wow.
No. Yeah, so I find myself still in this position, but hopefully soon it will be all sorted.
And this is the bit that a lot of people don't necessarily understand. It's not just the verbal abuse. It's often the financial crisis that women can find themselves in, because either the person who they're with has been spending all the money, or has been keeping it from them, or in your case, because you were trying to do the right thing and go down the right legal route, you're finding that you're in a place where, you know, you're having to pay off debts that you can't do anything about.
Yeah. So that kind of is still in the background, to be honest, all these years later, but it's in a much better rosy position. So I can maybe fast forward a little bit from there and tell you the rest of the story. So from there, I kind of settled and grew my business. And then in December, I think it was 2022, I decided to close my business because I was working really long hours, like 14 hours. Survived COVID, and then Brexit hit, and we were a supply and making sort of interior business. So we made bespoke curtains, upholstery. We were having problems with getting components for like curtain poles. Like, these are really upmarket curtain poles.
Right.
So it just changed cash flow, and staffing it was just a total nightmare. So I asked myself this question: can I continue with this?
Right.
Can I continue working 14 hours caring for my dad full time, and my youngest daughter was really poorly at the time. Can I do this and live a life? Surely we're not here to just do all this work, all this caring, and not live the life that we want to live. So I decided to walk away.
Amazing that you actually stopped and asked yourself that question, because it's so easy to just get so caught up in the day-to-day of doing, which is what you're saying, and just existing, and one day is like a repeat. It's like living on Groundhog Day, isn't it? It's a repeat of the next and the next. But to actually have the ability to just stop and ask yourself that question, amazing. Which is no surprise then that you decided to go down the route of being a coach, because you've already got the knack of being able to ask questions.
Yeah. So on December the 6th, I think it was 2022. It's all a bit foggy still in my mind. I think my subconscious is protecting me. I walked out of my business and closed it. I completed all my jobs. I had a massive job on for a hotel that I completed all on my own, making about 54 pairs of curtains. Jeez. And he refused to pay me.
No.
Yeah. Wow. So I could not then liquidate myself. So another problem arose. And I thought, you know what, at this moment in time, what could go wrong? And strangely enough, 2 days before Christmas, the same month, my dad passed away.
Oh, Nicky. Wow.
I get quite upset thinking about this. So it was a really numb time.
Yeah, I can
Christmas was dreadful. I didn't do it.
Right.
And so I kind of got on with things, and I kind of moved into a dark place where I was in a cave. I call it my cave because it was very dark and it was a bit damp. And I just kind of stayed there because I was having feelings of loss, grief,
of course,
but a bit of shame as well, because while I was going through all this business stuff, I didn't have the time to see that my dad, he was 87 when he passed away, but he was deteriorating. So I couldn't see it because I was so wrapped up in what was going on. And I
understandably
mentally couldn't do much more.
Yeah.
And so I had to process all that. And
that's a lot. And did you go and seek any help, or did you talk to anybody about it? Were your friends there to help you through?
Well, I was still working, making curtains, but for a shop or a business that I used to work for before I opened my shop. So I had some money coming in.
Yeah.
The liquidators gave me quite a bit of bad advice, which made the problem even bigger. And I was really scared. And sometimes when you're scared, you just become an emu or an ostrich and you bury your head. It's the easiest thing to do. And I did it for a while. And then a turning point happened when I thought, you know what, is it worse for me not to deal with this stuff and hope it goes away? In the back of my mind, I thought, well, yeah, I'd like to do that. That'd be easy to just brush it away.
Well, just poof, magically goes away.
Yeah. But I also thought to myself, it's just going to get worse. So I started picking up the phone and calling the banks, the business stuff. And it was really strange because everyone tells you to go to business deadline and they'll give you advice. But if you're self-employed, they won't help you.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So there was nobody to talk to other than maybe a company that helps debt, which I don't think they gave very good advice. So I just managed it all myself and asked the questions. And it was really hard because at the time I'd have to psych myself up getting ready to make these phone calls. Yeah,
it's the scariest thing because it's a whole new world that you've been thrown into that you don't necessarily know how to negotiate, and then you're on your own without anybody to give you any kind of guidance, and you're just literally putting faith in yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, totally. And then I started to see things as opportunity. So of course I thought, I'm learning these new skills of managing these problems, and that's all they are problems. Do you know, it's really bad now, but it can't get any worse, I don't think, unless there's a basement to
fall
get
into.
worse. And so I thought, you know what, I can only do what I can do. I can speak to these people, and I kind of put myself into a different person. So it was that person over there that was taking the phone calls, and I was safe within my being.
Right. Nice.
It was really interesting. And then I started doing a lot more self-development, and I read a book, and it was A Year of Mystical Thinking by Emma Howarth, and that was a big turning point of trying out new things. Because I'd worked 14 hours, looked after my dad, I'd forgotten what I actually liked to do.
Right, of course.
Yeah, so I got back to self, and
Brilliant.
I thought, okay, I'll do one call today, and then it's back to me and a bit of work. And that's how I managed it. I made it bite size and small. And I started taking ideas out the book, and I went to yoga, and it just changed everything. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I went to a commune. I did lots of weird and wonderful things. I even ended up in India because I had a bit of savings again. And yeah, it was really interesting. So that was a real life changing, and to see people in a worse off position made me feel really different, you know.
And think this is such a powerful testament to, you know, people wondering, should I write a book, should I read a book, and just the power of reading something that invites you to take a different route. And then, of course, you having the faith and the guts to just take a different step. And as you say, you made it bite-sized. You didn't suddenly go, oh, I'm going to do all of these things. You just did one thing, and then you did the next thing. Brilliant.
Yeah, one step in front of the other. And some days I did backward steps, and that was okay. You know, I was learning to be kind to myself.
Right.
So I then came back from India all refreshed and ready to maybe find a romance.
Okay, Nicky, and then what happened?
Well, I found a romance, and at first everything was wonderful, absolutely glorious. And we moved in together. I rented out my property, and I sold all my furniture to move
Just
in.
stop 1 second. How quickly did you move in?
Oh, this is terrible. This is really bad. You're going to be ashamed of me.
No, because you told me in our first conversation. That's why I'm asking you. How quickly did you move in?
Well, I'm going to back up a bit more, because you know when you meet someone, you think, this is my soulmate.
The one. Yeah.
I'm going to just take a chance here because it feels ever so right. So 6 months later, we moved in together.
Right.
And it was all right for a bit. And then it all went dreadfully wrong. Really, really wrong. So I'm not going to go over that because I don't want to badmouth anybody.
No.
Because it's just maybe realizing that I went too fast, too soon, with the wrong person. And so it's actually a year this week that I moved out. So my friend called me because things were pretty bad.
Right.
And I could see that I was following the same pattern again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I was like, why am I doing this? And I thought, right, okay, I'll think about that after. Let's get things sorted. So this is where it gets really interesting. So in July last year, I chatted to my friend, and she says, what would you do, Nicky, if you had no money worries? And I'll come back to that in a moment. No money worries, and you could just do what you wanted. And I said, I would get myself out of here pretty damn quick.
Right.
She said, pack your bags, I'm coming to get you.
Nice.
So I did.
You are some awesome friends.
She was a lifesaver, and she still is a lifesaver. And I moved out, and it took him, this really pointed out how important I was to him. It took him 4 days to even ask, where was I?
Wow.
So I quickly decided that was that.
Yeah.
And I changed everything. And then for a 6-month period, I remained a bit homeless.
Great. So you've sold your furniture, you've moved out of the house, you stayed with your friend, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Okay, what's going to happen now? Again, I'm thinking I can't get much worse than this. At the same time of all of this happening, the partner that I bought the properties was not paying the mortgages and keeping the rents.
Oh my goodness.
So I ended up with £10,000 worth of mortgage debt, a mortgage rate that was sky high, that was more than what the rentals were taking, and it was just a disaster, a proper train wreck.
Yeah.
So going back to the moving out bit, I ended up pretty much, I called it the adventure. My daughter introduced me as my homeless mother, and I thought that was a bit harsh.
Say it as it is, though, don't they?
Yeah, she's very say it as it is. And I kind of stayed at my friends. I stayed at an Airbnb. I stayed at my ex-husband's. I went camping in my camper van, and I thought, let's turn it into an adventure.
Brilliant. Amazing.
And I moved it for winter. I moved into an Airbnb, which my friend helped me out with, which I'm eternally grateful for. And then I thought, I need to sort this out. We can't keep living like this. So in March, I moved into my own place.
So how did you manage to sort that then, after all of this financial mess going on and you're owing here, there and everywhere? How did you manage to source a place?
I kind of managed to get it sorted, but at the same time, I had no furniture. I had nothing. And so it's a bit scary, you know, to think, right, okay, I'm going to have my own place, but I've got no furniture. And I thought, okay, well, as you know, I was a strong believer in the universe will help.
Yeah.
And because my friend always said you're in exactly the right place at the right time. So I knew it was all going to come together, because it always does.
Yes.
And I managed to work really hard sewing, and I was also trying to build my coaching business. I decided everything I would buy would be off Facebook Marketplace.
Right. Brilliant.
So to start it off, I bought a sofa. And I thought, this is good. I sat in it at the lady's house, and I thought, yeah, that'll do. That'll do nicely. £40 in the bag. Yeah. So I was storing everything I was buying at the Airbnb I was staying at, and I just went through Marketplace. And what was really interesting was, in my mind, or say I was on the loo, in the shower, wherever I was, whatever I was doing, I was thinking, I think I'm going to try and find a TV stand. Or I think I need a fridge now. You know, the main basics.
Yeah.
And then I'd go on Facebook Marketplace, and it would be there.
Amazing.
It was as if I was, is it available? Yes, I'll have it. £10. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
And so I furnished all my house. The people who left the place had left me a few bits. So I painted up, and I just went from there. My friends came to help me, and my ex-husband and my daughters helped me move and paint and prepare the flat for me to move in, which was a full weekend. It was exhausting. I was working, and it was hard going, but I knew I was in exactly the right place at the right time.
And this is why, when I introduce the story, it's about resilience and determination, and just going for it, and just seeing the positive side and manifesting these things, you know, and literally figuring out, instead of I can't, you were very much, how can I?
Exactly, yeah. And it became, you know, I knew what work was coming in, so I knew what I needed to pay my bills with. I knew what I had spare. I'd also learned, whilst I was in this homeless phase, to live very frugally, you know. And it was really, really humbling, to be honest, because I was eating really good food. It wasn't costing me a lot. I had cut down on drinking, which was amazing. So I was thinking clearly, rather than drowning and masking what was actually going on. I had a plan, and this is where I'm going to be. And I started to build my business, and I was getting clients as well.
Fabulous.
It was just all coming together, and it's just really strange how it has all come together. I can't quite believe it myself. It's a year down the line, the business
So
is
what was it that made you decide that you were going to go into coaching? Because you were doing your sewing and stuff, which you discovered thanks to that book you really enjoyed, and but you also discovered other things. So what was it about the coaching side of things that made you think, yeah, actually, do you know what? Yeah, I want to do that.
I think when I was in the cave,
Yeah.
the dark cave, and I was thinking to myself how stupid I was. How am I making these same mistakes over and over again? How am I choosing bad people as partners?
Yeah.
Or they might not be bad to other people, but they didn't fit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought there must be other women who are going through this. I cannot be the only one.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And then I just started to research things on how women are feeling, what's going on. And then it just led to all these roles that we play, mother, wife, partner, carer, and taking on jobs, working, sick children, everything like that. And I just thought, I can't be the only one.
Yeah.
And they're the women I want to help, because I'm getting out of it. I want to share my journey and how I did it with these women who were at the start where I was in the cave.
Right. Brilliant.
Hopefully they're in a better cave than I was.
So fast forward to now, it's a year. And how are things going for you now? Where are you in all of this?
Wow, that's really interesting, Vicky, because in February, I just out of the blue in my brain thought to myself, I think I'll get a job.
Right.
A part-time job. Then I know I've got this money coming in. And I started working at Weymouth College in the sports hall with a wonderful team of men who are so lovely and supportive and everything. But what happened is quite amazing, is that I thought I was confident, but I was still hiding in the cave. I think I left a part of my brain in there. So working in the college, working with the team actually got me to find my confidence again and speaking to people and growth. And I can honestly say that's been a massive part of this year, is getting a job with people rather than just working from home on my own.
I think that's so important for people to hear, because coaching and working for yourself and having your own business, I mean, you had your sewing business, but you were employing people at one point as well, but then you were doing it all on your own to finish off that amazing order that you did and then didn't get paid for. And so you've done that with people, you've done that on your own bit. And I think it's so important for people to recognize that you can have your own business and you can still work. And if that works for you, then it's meant to be that way.
Yeah. And it's also helped me talk to loads of people in a different way, communicate better and effectively.
Yeah.
But the confidence side of things has been amazing, and just getting to know different people. And my love for being, fit and healthy has really helped as well. And I've also, what's another important factor, because the next person I choose to be in my life, I want to choose wisely. So I've been researching my attachment style.
Right.
Maybe if I'm a trauma bonded person, I don't know. I think I'm working through it really well. But I've got this set of tools now, rather than baggage of bad feelings and resentment of, he did this to me. I'm seeing that I was an equal part in it somewhere.
Absolutely. And I think this is the joy of when you go into the whole personal development side of things. And if you want to be a coach, you've got to go on your own journey of looking at yourself first. And it's recognizing that we go into relationships because we are still being a certain way. Yes. And that's the stuff that we need to turn into and really look at, because there are lessons that we can learn from each of those relationships. And if we don't learn them, guess what? We end up in a relationship that turns out until we learn the lesson. And so we have to recognize that, what are the lessons that I hadn't learned that I now need to learn before I go into another relationship, so that I am not going to keep on this repeating cycle. And this is where the journey of self-development, it doesn't really end, I don't think. As we get older and we change, and our ways of thinking and our hormones and all of that stuff comes into play, it also makes it quite an exciting journey, doesn't it?
It's really exciting, and I've got my 6th decade coming, so I'm quite excited what that's going to bring up. But I think this whole journey this year, I've cut down drinking, I'm eating better, I'm looking after Nicky inside and out.
Right, probably for the first time ever, really.
Absolutely. And I even was gobsmacked myself about this. I'm actually saying what I feel.
Right.
If I'm not happy with something, I'm not saying, it in a rough way, but I'm actually saying, no, I'm not doing that.
So you found your voice. You found your voice. And this is the bit that, going right back to the start, where we said, this stuff began in childhood, and so many girls particularly are brought up with what I call good girl syndrome, in that, you should be a certain way if you are a female. And it's not just girls, boys have it as well. You should be a certain way if you're a boy. But we do, part of that is that you don't say what you are actually feeling. You go along and you care about other people's feelings first, because you woe betide you hurt somebody else's feelings. And so we just learn, as you say, it's never said, it's never spoken out loud, but you learn to say the right thing, even if that's not in alignment with what you're really feeling and what you're really thinking. And as you get older and wiser, and you've lived through so much of life, you kind of recognize that if you don't speak out and say what you're feeling, the only person who really gets hurt from that is you.
Yeah.
And you now recognize you deserve to love yourself and care about yourself. And that's a huge thing.
And I think what my friend said to me, do you realize what a role model you're being for your daughter? Sings through constantly, and I think notice the change, which is amazing.
Yeah. And that is just so powerful. And I think for any parent, we can so easily get lost in what is going on for us and what do I do and what's the solution, that we're not necessarily fully aware of actually what are the kids seeing, because the kids don't hear what you're saying, they watch what you're doing. And that's what they remember. And it was, I mean, as I say, you have some incredible friends, that the fact that she said that to you, but also that you received it and you took action on it, and you went, you know what, no, I'm not doing this to them. And even if it had to be to them and you didn't recognize that you didn't deserve it either, it still got you to take the right action. And this is where there's no right way of doing it, is that? So if you now are really focusing on still working at the college, but what is it that you want people to take away? What's your main message from this episode and from everything that you've been through?
I think my main message from everything is to pause. So when you're feeling it and it's all going crazy and you're out of control and you're just trying to balance all those plates, is just to let them drop, pause, and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling here? Is I think if you can sit with it and just accept it, that you're not happy, and that's okay. That is the biggest step to change, is to recognize, sit with it, and then ask yourself, where do I want to be? And that for me was a roadmap to going forward. Like my next aim is to go traveling And I think, okay, what steps do I need to be doing now to get me closer to that thing? What do I need to do? What do I need to train? What do I need to learn? How do I need to be?
Nice.
You know,
Excellent.
and I think it's to trust yourself. If you're feeling that you're not feeling right within your body, that's your body telling you something's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's called a dis-ease. And I think if you don't listen to it, your body will start shouting at you soon, and it will disarm you and make you see you need to change.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant, Nicky. So if people like what they have heard, and if you are liking this, folks, please do give us a thumbs up, give us a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button now. But Nicky, if people are loving what they have heard, where can they find you? Where are you hanging out?
I'm hanging out on Instagram, and I think my handle is Nicky_Massey_coach, I think, but I can
We'll put the links in.
share them. And my website is nickymassey.com, which I'm changing a few things at the moment and really loving. Yeah, so
right, so guys, we will put those links in the description if you are watching on YouTube, and they'll be in the show notes if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or all other podcast hosts. Nicky, I want to just say thank you so much for coming on here. This is your podcast debut, isn't it? Your
absolutely. It's been quite a lovely thing to do, to actually get it out of my body and actually share, you know, nearly all the full story, because there are still things going on in the background that I'm
you never know, in a year's time we may have a part 2, and you can fill us in on where you're at and your traveling plans. But I want to say just thank you for being an awesome guest, and I'm sure that this is the first of many podcasts that you're going to be doing, because the more people hear your story and the more people recognize that it's okay to not be understanding of what is going on. It's okay to feel like you've made mistakes. It's okay to feel like everything's been a disaster and catastrophize things. But as long as you can start to ask those questions, what am I feeling? Where do I want to be? And recognize it starts to come from a place of how can I? And that allows you then to, as you say, progress and grow and set those goals then that you can work out, okay, so this is what I really want. How am I going to get there? Brilliant message. Absolutely loved it. And I'm going to leave you with this, folks, as I always do. We only have one life, as far as we know, and one body. So please look after it, because it is looking after you. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Thanks, Nicky.
Thank you. Bye.